Welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. Today it's all about how to build kitchen cabinets do it yourself. And we're going to go step by step how I do it, and let's get started.
There he goes, it's a working man. He's trying to make a living any way he can. And he'll break his back for $1 or $2. Oh, there ain't no shame in what he do. Oh, work it out.
Probably the first tool is the SawStop table saw. And you can use any table saw, but in my case, the SawStop table saw is what I have. And the next tool is what you see me using right now is the Kreg pocket hole tabletop version. And this thing basically puts a pocket hole in the bottom and it makes really fast work of it. And right here, the first steps in my process of building a cabinet, and here you can see I'm using the corner. That's a little Kreg corner tool. And basically, and these are all the tools that I use to put this kitchen cabinets together. And right there I've got actually that's a Milwaukee drill right there that I'm using with a Kreg pocket hole drill bit. And I basically, all my cabinets I assemble with the Kreg pocket hole screws. And I generally glue them also. So I'll put a little glue on each piece and then clamp them together and then put the pocket hole screws in. And basically I just go through and my process for building cabinets, and I'm not a professional cabinet maker. I just like to do my own thing and make my own stuff. And in the past, I had a really good cabinet maker, Donnie, and he actually did our cabinets for the houses that we built for more than 20 years, and he did a really nice job. But up here in the mountains, I'm kind of on my own, and basically this is part of building a house by yourself, doing the whole thing by yourself, and cabinets are part of it. So here's all the tools that I use basically. So you got cordless drills, and I've actually got a Milwaukee that's a pretty old drill, and then I also use a Harbor Freight Bauer drill that I also use. And then on my clamps, I use a lot of these plastic clamps over the years, but the only ones I have left that are still working are the DeWalt ones. So probably if I buy any more of these clamps, it'll be the DeWalt only, because they seem to be the only ones that last. Now right here, I'm basically building all the bases, the toe kicks that the cabinets are going to sit on. And the reason I like to, there's been a lot of times where I'll build the cabinet basically just one piece that has the toe kick already built in. But I watched a few cabinet guys over the years, and they like to build these bases first. And basically the reason is they can basically build these bases and get a laser and get these all leveled really good with shims and stuff, and get them all mounted to the floor and level. And that way, when they bring in their cabinets, they set them on these bases, and they're basically, everything's perfectly level at that point. Now right here, I've got a laser set up right there, and I'm just going through shimming and screwing these bases down to the floor. And in my case, in this little house, I have a radiant floor, but I left out the radiant heat everywhere that these bases are going, so that I wouldn't screw any screws into my pipes. So, but yeah, right here I'm just getting them all mounted, and yeah, that goes pretty good actually. It makes it a lot easier. Once I get all the bases, the toe kick, the bottom bases mounted, it's time to make the sides. And in my case, all these cabinets are the same size as far as the height and the width. And I'm making tall cabinets just because me and my wife are tall, so these are a little taller than normal. And right here I'm using my my SawStop table saw with the, what do you call this thing? The track, sliding track, I guess you call it. But, and it does really, the first pieces that I made, I checked the square of them, and then I just kept going and making all these. And I would say the first 20 pieces came out perfectly square. And then for some reason, this little sliding fence that I have got out of square, and I had to re-square it. But basically, I go through and my procedure is to cut all the side pieces exactly the same, get them all ready, and then go through and cut the different size pieces for the bottoms, depending on the widths of the cabinets. Now, in my case, all the cabinets are going to have drawers. And right here, I'm basically figuring out the different bottoms that I need for all these different boxes. And that looks like some 12-inch wide cabinets, which I have 3 of them, I think. So I need to make all the pieces for the bottoms of these 12-inch ones. And then right here, I take and cut the tops. So I've got spreaders on the tops of the cabinets and then solid pieces on the bottom. And I basically just go through and get all these pieces cut and ready to router. So each cabinet, I need a router, a bottom piece, a top piece, and the 2 sides to allow for the back of the cabinet. And here you can see I'm starting to router out the different pieces and make sure the 1/2 inch fits in there really nice. And I just go through and I try to get everything ready to go where I can just go through and router all the pieces at one time. And then I know that they're all routed, equal distance. And there's a big side piece that I'm routering right there. One thing I realized was I wanted to make sure and spray out any sawdust that was in the cracks. That way when I go to glue it, it doesn't have any loose material in there. And that's pretty much what I did on this whole process. And it was a lot of routering for this many cabinets, but it worked really well, and I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. Now, once I got all the routering done, it was time to take all the pieces and start putting pocket holes on them. And basically those are some smaller cabinets right there. And those are, what pieces are those for? I don't know what pieces those. They look like maybe they're a 12-inch cabinet. Yeah, I think those are 12-inch cabinets. And basically these pieces are 10.5 inches because the cabinets are 12. So basically I go through and I do 1 or 2 cabinets at a time, and basically I do the sizes. Like if I have 12-inch cabinets, I got 3 of them, I do all 3 of them, and then get those put together and get them transported up to the little house. And this Kreg pocket hole jig really was worth the money to buy this. I originally had a little portable unit, and which worked fine, but it did this particular unit, this Kreg pocket hole jig, just makes a lot faster. It's just a lot faster. And right here you can see I'm assembling them, and the way I do it is I kind of first I'm making sure that the back fits in there perfectly. So right now I got 3 of these cabinets to make. So I'm cutting the 1/2 inch piece that's going to slide in the back of this. Once I have the box all like I want and I know everything's good, I start doing the edge banding. And basically I set up a little clamp. This is a little Rockwell clamping device, and I've got an iron on high, and then I put the edge banding on there. I've got a flush cut trim bit, and I basically go through and start putting all the edge banding on, and I get it nice and hot actually, and to where I can't hardly touch it, and then I know it's glued on there pretty good, and I'll let it sit for 10 minutes, 15 minutes before I start trimming them. And right here you can see I'm taking the big pieces and getting them all put together. Now, these particular cabinets that I'm making is kind of a Euro style cabinet. Right here you can see I'm trimming it. The small pieces you can kind of hold in your hand, but I got to the point where I was actually clamping each piece to do the trimming on them. But they were coming out really good with this. The tools that I'm using for trimming the edge banding is Fast Cap, called Fast Cap. And that's that actual trimmer you see me using right there, and also the snippers. And then the iron I just stole from my wife. But yeah, that works really well. And you just have to be the only thing about European style cabinets is the edge banding. You just have to be careful with it when you're transporting your cabinets and stuff. And that's right here. You can see I'm cutting the backs of these cabinets, and these are the 12-inch wide cabinets that I'm making right here. And I basically I built all the boxes for this whole kitchen in and assembled them and installed them in 5 days. Right here I'm putting together the first cabinet. Now what I did, so these are some 12-inch cabinets, and they have 3 drawers in each cabinet. Now what I did is I made up a jig. I cut 3 template pieces where I could, so there's a 3/4 piece, and then the hinge mounts to it. I put all the hinges in my cabinets before I even put them together. And to me that worked out a lot better, because like in a 12-inch wide cabinet, it's only really 10.5 inches on the inside. And it's hard to get a drill in there and put those screws in. They do make some right angle drills that you could possibly use, but this is the way I did it. So you can see I got a couple little jigs for the measurement of the drawers, and all the drawers in the whole kitchen have the same measurement, and that's just the way we designed it. We tried to make it as easy as possible on me making it. Now right there I made a mistake, because that bottom piece was supposed to actually go on first. So you're supposed to, in this particular assembly, I'm supposed to mount the middle hinge first. And of course on my first cabinet I'm just getting going, so I kind of, you get a rhythm together. You know, once you kind of get started, you start getting a rhythm of the assembly process, and you basically, you can get all your tools and everything, and you start getting a good plan. So right there you can see this time I'm starting with the middle one and making sure I'm on the right side of the deal, because when you flip over the cabinet and glue it together, you want to have it on the right side. So yeah, basically this is the assembly process for almost all my cabinets, is to basically use these little template jigs that I made and mount all my hinges on there first. Now I'm using undermount slides, and these are some Solis Progresso Plus slides, and I kind of like them. They're made in Italy. They're definitely not the cheapest, but they seem to work pretty good, and they'll hold a 3/4 inch drawer, which is probably what I'm gonna. They'll go 1/2 inch all the way up to 3/4 dimensionally. And right here I'm getting ready to put this is my first box that I'm putting together. And you know, I started out using the Kreg corner pieces, but I wasn't super thrilled with them, because they kind of block the pocket hole screw a little bit. But I do use them all the time, and they do work really well. That's the Kreg corner clamps, those blue ones. And then I'm using 1.25" pocket hole screws. Right here you can see I'm getting ready to put the plywood in. I glue it, I check all the measurements, and then basically this is kind of my assembly procedure for the whole kitchen. I basically glue everything, and then what I do is I also I keep a wet rag right there. And that way, after I screw this whole thing together, I'll take the wet rag and wipe off any glue. And the material that I'm using for this kitchen is pre-finished maple. And I remember my cabinet guy, Donnie, he used to make a lot of cabinets out of pre-finished maple. even though you won't see any of this material, but if you do have to clean, like if you make a mess inside of them later on, they wipe down really easy. They're easy to clean. Probably the trickiest part for doing these Euro is lining up your edge banding, making that nice and flush so it looks really good. And like I said, this is a do-it-yourself, building cabinets by yourself thing. And I basically built this whole kitchen, not including the drawers. I still have a lot of drawers to make, but I built the whole kitchen in about 5 days. And here you can see I'm starting on another cabinet. This is the procedure for the whole kitchen. I basically just try to cut as many pieces as I can. Like I cut all the sides for the whole kitchen all at once, and then I started cutting all the little pieces for the bottoms and tops, depending on what size it was. And yeah, that's the procedure of how I assemble these. And here you can see I started to install some of the cabinets. And then I just keep repeating, and there are different sizes. I've got some 12-inch, those are the first ones that I did. And then I got some 24-inch. I've got a 34-inch where the sink goes. And I've got 3 24-inch where the island is. And some smaller little office ones. But it's basically just using these same tools and just repeat the process. And like I said, the main tools is a saw stop, table saw, and this Kreg pocket hole thing. Those are probably the 2 most important tools. And obviously a chop saw also, but right here you can see, I try to keep everything clean as I go, because especially on the router table, because when you router something, it'll leave a bunch of sawdust on that router table. And then when you're pushing the next piece through, you can sometimes get on top of that sawdust, and then it's not routering as deep as you think, and then they don't fit together as good. So I'll keep a little air hose next to the router, and then I'll spray that table off each time before I router that groove in for the backs to go in. And yeah, this is just 5 days of cutting, gluing, and screwing these cabinets together. Here's a little better view of my edge banding setup. So I have a roll of the pre-finished maple edge banding hanging right there. And I can basically just roll it out and clip it, and then I set them aside and let them dry. And like I said, they only take about 10 or 15 minutes to dry, but I make sure and push down pretty hard and get them nice and hot when I'm applying them. And then obviously you make sure you have them straight on there so that you have enough material to trim on each side really good. And I just stack them all up. I just keep edge banding and stacking them, and I stagger stack them so that they don't touch the edge banding, and then let them dry. And then once I got a cabinet all, a couple of them ready to go, then I'll start putting them together. And it's just repeat and just keep doing the same thing. And I kind of enjoy it, actually. What I'll do is I'll put 2 or 3 cabinets together, then take them up to the house, set them in there for now, and then come back down and make some more. And I'm putting in all the hinges at the same time. So basically, when I'm done putting this kitchen together, the only thing I'll have left to do is to do the drawers, and then I've got some exotic wood that I'm actually going to be using for the drawer fronts and the drawer sides. Here you can see I got all the cabinets installed. I got the rough deck on, ready for granite or ready for the stone. This is going to get a 6-inch backsplash, And on the island, it's gonna get waterfall on each edge. But you can see at 5 days, I got all the cabinet boxes in, all the hinges are in. I've even got all my appliances, most of them installed, ready to go. And yeah, how I mount my cabinets, I basically set all these cabinets on their bases. I built some double panel sides for the exposed sides, and then I'll actually level them and square them and fasten them to the wall with some 2 1/4 inch screws. And I use a magnet to find my studs in the wall, and then I'll transfer that mark underneath and mount them. And yeah, so this is the little kitchen, and let me show you the rest. Here's a little beverage area right there. Right there is the island, which is going to get a waterfall edge on each side. And then here's your main little kitchen area with the pull-out drawers, refrigerator drawers, dishwasher, and then a sink in the middle over there. Now this is so this is going to get a custom double sink. And I have basically steel supports under each side of this that this is sitting on. You can stand on this actually. But this is going to get about a 4-inch thick custom river table style sink. And I'll show you an example because I did make a sink for my powder bath. And I need to still make this sink, but this is going to be a whole crazy sink that I'll have to do a video by itself. But this is a floating cabinet, and this will get drawers, but I have to order special size drawers because I didn't want this cabinet sticking out too far, so I kind of made a narrower cabinet. Let me show you the other one that has a sink on it, and you'll be able to see kind of what it's going to look like. Here's what this double sink's gonna look like. This is a single version, and basically it's an epoxy river table built into a sink. And here's the other little office, and that's all the cabinet boxes and rough tops done in 5 days. And there you go, do-it-yourself kitchen cabinets. We're not done yet, obviously. I didn't want the video to be too long. I still have to make all the drawers for all these, and I also have to do, I'm going to be doing some exotic wood as far as the, like the front of the island's going to get some exotic bamboo wood, and all the drawer fronts are going to be this bamboo wood. But anyway, yeah, you can do it yourself, and those were the tools that I used to do it. And yeah, thanks very much for watching the video. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Like 90% of the people don't subscribe, but it helps me out if you subscribe. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later.
There he goes, it's a working man. He's trying to make a living any way he can. And he'll break his back for $1 or $2. Oh, there ain't no shame in what he do. Oh, work it out.